Persia, vast and glittering, lies at the heart of the Islamic world. Caravan routes stretch across deserts and mountains, carrying silks from China, spices from India, and precious manuscripts written by scholars in Baghdad and Nishapur. At its center stands the Khwarazmian Empire, ruled by Shah ad-Din Muhammad II, a restless monarch eager to prove his power. His empire is large, but beneath the surface, cracks are spreading. Rebellious governors, overtaxed farmers, and a fragile hold on cities that burn with ambition of their own. Far to the east, another force is rising. From the windswept steppes of Mongolia, Genghis Khan has forged an army like none the world has ever seen. His warriors ride with the speed of a storm, disciplined, ruthless, and loyal. Already, they have toppled kingdoms in China and Central Asia. Now, Genghis turns his gaze westward. He does not come at first as a conqueror, but as a merchant, sending caravans and envoys to Persia in search of trade and friendship. Genghis Khan quickly forged ties with Shah Muhammad II, recognizing him as a ruler of formidable power. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent forth a caravan of 450 merchants. They carried goods and a letter, a message of friendship, trade, and alliance. But at the frontier city of Otrar, Governor Inalchuk's eyes burned not with diplomacy, but with greed. Accusing the travelers of espionage, he seized them and took their goods. Enraged but still restrained, Genghis Khan sends ambassadors demanding justice. The Shah not only refuses but commits the unthinkable. He kills the entire envoy, sending their mutilated remains back to the Mongols. When the news of the Otrar incident reached Genghis Khan, he decided to control his anger and made his last attempt to gain satisfaction through diplomacy. He sent an envoy to request for the surrender of Inalchuk to the Mongols. Shah Muhammad didn't want to surrender Inalchuk because most of the leaders of the Khwarazmian army were his relatives. Therefore, Shah Muhammad not only did not accept Genghis Khan's request, but also executed his Muslim envoy who came to Samarkand, the capital of the Khwarazmian Empire. To Genghis Khan, it was a declaration of war, and he began preparing his army for an invasion. Muhammad II was not ready for the storm that was coming. In a single year, he collected taxes 3 times from his people, stirring anger and unrest that simmered beneath the surface. He gathered his commanders around him. A war council was held. Hardened generals insisted to let the Mongols come to Transoxiana, an area that they were familiar with and where they perhaps could gain an advantage. But the Shah was deaf to their counsel. Instead of uniting his armies into a single crushing force, he scattered them across the empire, guarding cities one by one. With his forces divided, he abandoned the heart of his realm and withdrew to Balkh, leaving Persia vulnerable to the thunder of hooves that drew ever closer. In September 1219, Genghis Khan marched into Shah Muhammad's territory and carefully divided his army into 3 contingents. He entrusted his sons Ogedei and Chagatai with the siege of Otrar. He dispatched Jochi to subdue the cities along the Sirdaria River, and with his youngest son Tolui at his side, led the main force himself toward Bukhara. For 5 months, the Mongols besieged the walls of Otrar. Betrayal from within opened the gates, and the city fell. Governor Inalchuk was captured and executed, and Otrar was reduced to ruins. With this, the path into the Khwarazmian heartland lay open. In 1220, Genghis Khan attacked Bukhara with the main forces of his army. Shah Muhammad was caught completely unaware. He had anticipated that Genghis would attack Samarkand first. This was where he positioned his main field army. Back at Bukhara, only the garrison stood against the Mongols. The Khan faced strong resistance from the defenders of the city, but this resistance did not last long, and the city fell in less than 2 weeks. After capturing Bukhara, the Mongol invaders killed thousands of unarmed and defenseless citizens and took the rest as slaves. Then they took the road to Samarkand. Shah Muhammad placed great importance on the defense of Samarkand, amassing a large force within its walls and overseeing the repair of its fortifications. Around 50,000 soldiers were stationed in the city to protect it. The siege began with the Mongols encircling the city, cutting off supplies and communication. Genghis Khan employed his usual combination of psychological warfare and tactical deception. He ordered his artillery and archers to continuously pressure the walls. Inside the castle, the Khwarazmian commanders resolved on one desperate gamble. The Khwarazmian cavalry rode out to meet the Mongols. Alongside them were war elephants, clad in armor, tusks gleaming with steel tips, meant to crush the invaders beneath their massive weight. At first it seemed the Mongols broke. Their riders scattered. The defenders gave chase, believing victory within their grasp, but the Mongols were drawing them away from the castle walls. Once out of the range of the archers on the castle walls, the Mongols turned around and charged. Mongols gained the advantage and began to cut off the Khwarazmian cavalry. From the walls, the people of Samarkand watched their last hope vanish into dust and blood. The noble charge had been completely stopped by the Mongols, with most of the Khwarazmian cavalry being killed. Fear swept through the streets. Mercenaries laid down their arms, some even joining the enemy. And within days, the mighty city, once the jewel of Transoxiana, surrendered to Genghis Khan. Genghis's army entered the city and massacred the people. Only the most loyal made a last stand. After the attack, the city of Samarkand became a ruin and was deserted. Following Samarkand's fall, Genghis Khan directed his armies deeper into Khwarazmian territory. His generals Subutai and Jebe led campaigns into Persia with speed and ruthlessness. Cities that resisted were razed, their populations massacred, and survivors enslaved. This approach not only crippled Persian military resistance, but also spread terror across the region, prompting some cities to surrender without a fight. The Shah, Muhammad II, fled westward rather than confront the Mongols directly, abandoning his people and fracturing the empire's defensive coherence. Genghis Khan sent his generals Subutai and Jebi on a relentless pursuit across Persia to hunt him down. This chase became one of the most famous cavalry expeditions in history, stretching thousands of miles. Exhausted and broken, Muhammad eventually reached a small island in the Caspian Sea. There, stripped of his power, deserted by most of his followers, and suffering from illness, he died in December 1220. By the time of his death in 1220, the Khwarazmian state had effectively disintegrated. His son, Jalal al-Din, attempted to rally resistance, but his efforts were sporadic and often overwhelmed by the Mongols' superior organization and tactical flexibility. Cities such as Nishapur, Herat, Merv, and later Ray suffered catastrophic destruction. Entire populations were annihilated in acts of retribution meant both to punish resistance and to serve as stark warnings to others. Agricultural lands were devastated, irrigation systems ruined, and urban centers depopulated. The Persian cultural and intellectual landscape, once among the most vibrant in the Islamic world, entered a prolonged period of decline under the shadow of Mongol conquest. Yet the invasion also marked the beginning of long-term changes. Mongol rulers gradually shifted from destruction to administration. The Ilkhanate, established later in Persia under Genghis Khan's grandson Hulagu, became an integral part of the wider Mongol Empire.